What is it about people, and I mean, particularly people like yourself, that love these thrills? Like, what are you getting out of that? What are you getting out of that other than this mad adrenaline rush? I mean, what is it? Like, what motivates you to keep doing that?
So if I look back at it objectively, I think when I initially started pushing hard down that path, I was trying to replicate a headspace or a feeling or a sensation that I had in my old job. So if you want to talk about clarity of thought, and I think we might have talked about this the very first time that we sat down, stripping away all ancillary bullshit that has absolutely no meaning, but for me at least, I spend 99% of my time worrying about things that have no impact whatsoever.
Right.
So you sit on a helicopter, pick the battle space that you're in, and you get a 5-minute warning. And you really stop worrying about whether or not you have enough money in your checking account to cover your mortgage. And then you get a 3-minute warning. And then you kind of stop worrying about whether or not you just had an argument with your wife or you just sent off some snarky email. Then you get a 1-minute warning and a 30-second warning. And the closer and closer and closer you get, everything is gone. And it is still to this day the sensation and state that I have been in that is by far – I had no question about my purpose, and I had the utmost clarity that I've ever experienced in my life. And you get used to operating in that headspace of just being in the moment. The first 1 to 3 seconds in front of you, nothing else matters. I'm going to solve this problem and move on to the next one. This problem and move on to the next one. Well, then I lost that ability to do that. And it sucked because I liked operating in that headspace because it helped me deal with all the other bullshit in my life because it reset for me my what matters and what doesn't matter ratio. I was able to get rid of I would describe it as just the white noise in my head. Or another way I'll describe it is like Jamie's got a bunch of levers that he can push up. I think in this, I'm included in this, I think most people are pegged out at a 10 almost all the time. They're fucking white knuckling through life. But if you can get into that state where you have that clarity of purpose, clarity of focus, I felt like it pulled everything back to a 3. And so that state helped me in things that had nothing to do with that activity, and it lasted for a long time. So when you're base jumping and you're standing on a cliff and you're scared out of your mind and you can't talk because your mouth is so dry and you have a pee ring on your suit, which is why you always get dark suits so people can't see your pee ring, and every alarm bell in your body is telling you don't jump. And I had the same experience. I wasn't worried about the checking account. I wasn't worried about what was going on in life. I was just living in that moment. And it helped me be a better dad. It helped me be a better husband. It helped me be better at any business decision that I need to make because it allowed me to pull all of those stereo levers back down. So it's less for me, and I can only speak for me, it's less about thrill seeking because I get that all the time. Like, you're an adrenaline junkie. I'm like, I'm an adrenaline enthusiast. I certainly enjoy that, but I actually like what I get from the activity more than the activity itself.
What do you think is going on where people are pegged at 10 all the time with nonsense, and that something that's life-threatening can bring it back to a 3 and offer clarity? I mean, there has to be something that you've discussed or thought about in depth.
I just think it helps you Control, Alt, Delete your hard drive a little bit. It helps by not having – like when I'm standing on a cliff right before I get ready to jump, there is absolutely nothing that I am thinking about other than where I want to be in the next 3 seconds. And by being able to focus on something so singular, and maybe I don't meditate, but I've heard people talking about by being able to clear your mind, it helps them deal with everything else. I think there might be some connection there. But I just think that the removal of the noise that bombards everybody all day long, even for a little bit, helps you. It's you have iPod or not iPod, iPhone and headphones for sure, right? Mm-hmm. And you ever notice like when you're listening to it, you listen at the same volume level, but then it just doesn't seem to be as loud. So what do? You click it up a notch, right? And then you get used to that volume level, and then you click it up a notch, and then you get used to that volume level. And receptor downgrade phenomenon. Your body gets used to it, so it adapts to it. But if you pull that stimulus out and leave it at that high volume, but listen to it like 2 weeks later, it's going to blow your ears out. It'll seem louder. It's not going to blow your ears out, but it's going to seem much louder than it would if you slowly just incrementally started adding that volume. So there's something in there that is allowing me, and I'm not recommending that anybody pursue therapy via the directions that I do, but there's something in there that's allowing me to, instead of add and add and add and add, that activity allows me to detach, and then when I come back to it, I realize, it just feels different for me. I don't know if that's a good description of the mechanism, but that's the best that I can probably describe it.
Well, I know a lot of veterans come back and really get involved in martial arts. Martial arts apparently is good for along the same lines, the same sort of noise reduction, especially Jiu Jitsu when someone's trying to strangle you and you're fighting for your life and they're mounting you and trying to lapel choke you.
I'm familiar with this now.
Yes,
I'm
you're doing
6
it now.
months in.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, being strangled or choked. I don't have enough experience with Jiu Jitsu to truly speak about the long-term benefit, but what I can say is this. If I stop base jumping, what I will replace that Avid activity with is more jiu-jitsu. Because what you just described, when somebody is literally, when you're simulating murder,
yes,
right, in your pajamas, and somebody is trying to choke you to death, you are not thinking about anything else.
About anything else. The weirdest thing about jiu-jitsu and training, and you could say this about striking as well, is sometimes things happen and you didn't even think about doing them, you just did it. Those are the weirdest moments. Like there's sometimes where you'll kick somebody. Like someone will move and you'll move, and then before you know it, you're like, wow, I didn't even think about throwing that, and it lands. It's like your brain recognizes, oh, I know what happens here. You step to the left and throw that left kick, and it just lands. You just know where to go. And then the same thing happens with jiu-jitsu. Like sometimes there's a scramble, and in the scramble, all of a sudden you're choking somebody. It's like this movement happens, and your body just falls into place.
I'll let you know if I ever experience that particular.
Well, it doesn't happen all the time. There's moments where you're like, particularly if you do a lot of drilling, which I don't know how much drilling you're doing, but it's one of the things that it made me way better. When I first started training with Eddie Bravo, one of the things that we did a lot from white belt to blue belt time was a lot of drills, just constant drilling. And drilling is overlooked and underappreciated because sparring is so fun. So like if you and Jamie were both learning together, you would do a few drills. Okay, here's how you do the arm bar. You're going to secure the arm. You're going to swivel the hips, throw the leg over, and tap. Good. Okay, now your turn. And you do it over and over again. That's fun. Okay, now spar. You're like, all right.
But take it easy, guys. Work on the technique.
Yeah, exactly. Take it easy, guys. Work on the technique. But if you can spend more time drilling and less time rolling, you'll be way better at rolling. The whole idea is to just carve these paths in your mind. And then you when you see someone who like hits a perfect Imanari roll, like that is not the first time they've done that. There's so many like super high level guys now that you could watch on YouTube and you can watch them execute these techniques. Yeah. And the thing that you're seeing more than anything is like how fluid everything is and how easily everything flows because there's so much efficiency in their movement because they've done it over and over and over. But drilling is everything. And it's the thing that people do the least of.